Hey, what's going on, people? Welcome to the 5 Pillars of Success. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about relationships, and we're going to do a little intro, right? So I got to kind of walk you through what this whole talk is, and we'll do that. We'll get some relationship stuff. We'll have a little bit of time for Q&A at the tail end, and I think it's going to be a good one. I'm really excited about this talk. This is one I'm actually going to be delivering on July 16th to the HR Unite conference. So I like it. This is like forcing me to work on something long before I normally would. So good times. All right, 5 pillars of success. Here's what we're going to do today. We've kind of already gone through the introductions. We'll talk a little bit about the grind. We'll introduce what the 5 pillars are. And then we're going to talk about what you can have, should have, or be contemplating your relationship to. So that's where we are. This is the world we live in now, right? You got to be out there hustling. You got to get your grind on. If you're not hustling, what are you doing? And everybody we talk to all day, every day tells us the same story, just how busy they are. Right. And along the lines of the worst piece of advice I think I've ever heard was fake it till you make it. And I love this image of a white horse with an ice cream cone stuck to his face because that's what you would do if you were a white horse and wanted to become a unicorn. That image needs to be in color, note to self. Anyway, this is garbage. All of it. All of it, all of it, all of it, all of it. Garbage, garbage. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do the things you need to do, right? I'm not saying that you may not be overwhelmed from time to time. What I am saying is using this as a crutch or using this as an excuse or using any of these things as a common refrain messes with your mentality. It messes with your head. And and if I'm telling customers or prospective customers just how busy I am, what are they going to think about the opportunity to work with me? How much time are they going to feel like they have to work with me? You're doing yourself a disservice. So I want to set the stage that this is where we are today. And honestly, we've got to move far, far past it. So, quick question, or not quick question. Sorry, I literally just received a quick question. Your job, right? If you choose to accept it, is to be so overflowed with good things going on in your world, right? That you have enough to give to other people. Lisa Nichols said it best, right? Your job is to fill your own cup so it overflows. Then you can serve others joyfully from your saucer. What that actually means is put your mask on first. You've got to take care of you before you can take care of anybody else. If you're not doing that in the right order, it's not going to work ever, right? It just doesn't. You have to have enough to give. Running on empty doesn't serve you and certainly doesn't allow you to serve those you need to serve. So make sure you're taking care of you. Here's a challenge. When we walk through life, we think about this concept of balance. We want to have things balanced, right? We want to have this, right? Work life balance. I used to joke about the idea of if you can't find work balance, you're never going to find work life balance. But the reality is, balance is kind of bogus, right? It's BS. If something's in balance, it's kind of perfectly mated and there's no real movement, right? There's no up, there's no down. It's just kind of flat and kind of level. Most of the people that I know, most of the people that I like and support are trying to have upward momentum. They're trying to have forward progress. So balance isn't really helping them get to where they need to go. We need to be looking at it differently. Forget about balance. Focus on harmony. When you have harmony, there are some things that are going to be in discord for a second, but ultimately everything works and plays together. And it's not a coincidence that there happen to be 5 rocks sitting right here for this big 5 pillars talk. So I want you to think about what your life looks like when all things are firing on all cylinders, right? When, if you look at what the word harmony is, and we often think about singing, when the voices and the pitches and the tones all match, not necessarily at the same frequency or the same volume or even at the same note, but they work together. Life is a very, very good thing when you can achieve that. So, we're going to go through what these 5 pillars are. Here's the first 3 of them. Mental, right? You have to figure out not only mental health, but mental strength. Along the lines of strength, we want to talk about physical, right? We also have to talk about financial. These are 3 upcoming topics that we're going to be working on. I think next week will probably be mental and physical. I'll probably pair them together, but it's me. So we never know what's going to happen until it actually happens. So I'm excited about that. But these 3, if you look at what you've got, what are you doing to make sure that you're taking care of yourself mentally, right? What are you doing to make sure that you're feeding your mind the things that you need to feed it? What are you doing with your body? How are you exercising that temple? How are you not damaging that temple? And then where are your finances? And I say this often, listen, if I were wealthy, or people who are wealthy, finances may break into 2 different situations. For me, my financial world and my work world are the same thing, right? I work for money. Unfortunately, my money is very lazy and does not go out and work for me and earn its own money. So wealthy people that are doing better in the market or doing better with investments may have a work life and may have a different financial life. So just something to think about for those of us that are trying to get there, because believe me when I tell you, I'm looking forward to getting there. The fourth piece of the pillar, right? The fourth pillar is spiritual. What are you doing to make sure that your spirit is nurtured? And I look at this not so much as religion, although that certainly has a component to it. I look at this also as a community. What is your place in the world, in the space that we occupy? So we're going to get into this too. This could be the next one. It's either going to be mental and physical health or it's going to be spiritual health. I'm going to show you one of those 2 is happening next Wednesday, July 15th at 11 a.m. But here today, we're talking about pillar number 1, relationships. And I look at relationships from a whole myriad of constructs, and we're going to talk about each one of them. It's not just about, you and your best buddy or you and your wife or you and your husband or you and whomever, right? There's a lot more to it. So I want to look at the very first relationship that we need to concern ourselves with. It starts with you. How do you relate to you? What do you think about yourself? What stories are you telling yourself? What self talk do you have? So often we talk at people or listen to people who just beat the crap out of themselves. Actually, Dave Weemy has given me feedback about my self talk during these presentations. It's fun for me. I've been a smartass the vast majority of my life, but it was always okay because I was going to rip on me first, right? So if I rip on me and then I rip on you, you don't feel as bad. It's not always the way it goes, though. What we really need to worry about is what we're feeding our own mind, right? Think about your mind as a garden. We can plant flowers or we can plant weeds. So whatever we take care of, whatever we put in there will grow. It's a matter of what do we think of us, right? How do we treat ourselves? How are we talking to ourselves? And what are we doing to make sure that we are our best self? And I don't know that a lot of people actually sit down and contemplate that. I was doing a sales training this morning and we were talking about mindset and the importance of having the right mindset. And I said it starts with a personal vision. right? We all have, our corporations, our businesses have vision statements and mission statements, but do we as individuals have a personal vision statement? And maybe we have two. Maybe we have a vision statement for our life, and maybe we have one that's more specific to work. I don't know. It's up to you. But do you have a personal vision statement? Where do you want to go? Start thinking about those things and what you can do to stay clear on that. Because the better we get at knowing who we are and where we want to go, the more easily life unfolds. So it starts with us. And I'm not saying you got to be braggadocious. I'm not saying you got to be egotistical. I'm not saying you got to run around and jump back and kiss yourself, right? But I am saying that you have to love and respect yourself. So there's one. Number two, your significant other. I have no idea why I decided to put a picture of two dudes as a significant other. I'm trying to be diversified in my imagery, and you'll see a couple of representations of that throughout this talk. But your significant other is the one that you should have the most confidence in, and they should have the most confidence in you. They are your rock. You are theirs. The person that you're going to spend the most time and energy and effort with outside of your children, right? And oh, by the way, in a lot of scenarios, you probably don't have children if you don't have a significant other. So who are they? How do they represent you? How are they a reflection of you? Because they absolutely are those things. Are they worthy of you? And more importantly, are you worthy of them? What do you do to make sure that they feel love? What do you do to make sure that they feel cherished, to feel respected? How are you spending that time? If you evaluate that relationship, do you give it a score of a 5 out of 10, a 7 out of 10, a 9 out of 10? Where is it? And understand that that score might change day by day. Heck, it could change hour by hour. I will tell you, there's a monthly cycle in relationships. There's a monthly cycle in women, and there's a monthly cycle in men too. In your relationships impacted by that. When we did the face of success, when we talked about awareness, one of the things we talked about was circadian rhythms. Those circadian rhythms impact your relationship with all of the people that you're around. Um, there's an entire biorhythm based on your relationship. So there are going to be times when you're going to be all into it. There are going to be times when you're going to be like, man, I can't stand this bitch. I was talking about, my wife thinking about me, not me thinking about my wife. Of course, it happens and it's going to happen. But the key is to be committed to the idea of being in it to win it and knowing that you'll get through it, because you will, unless you choose not to. And then you got to make a whole different decision. That's not this presentation. So we've talked about your relationship to self. We've talked about your relationship to your significant other. Let's talk about what could come out of that. Kids. Wow, man. What an absolute flipping responsibility. What a joy, what a privilege, what a pleasure, and what a total pain in the ass kids are. Keith Stonehouse is sitting here, and before anybody got on, he and I were chatting, and his boy Mason was hanging out. And I think Mason's going to be 3 in November. Or is Mason going to be 4? Mason's going to be 4 in November. Excuse me. And it's just awesome to watch him grow and to watch the dad that Keith is. He had some practice as a stepfather, but just to see the light in the life and the excitement and the joy and a little bit of frustration, right? I ain't gonna lie, because that happens. But we get to breathe so much life into these little people, and they are an absolute reflection of who we are. So on the list of things that we get to do as human beings, I'm not sure that there's too many that I like more than being a parent, right? I've got a 17-year-old girl and she is absolutely amazing. She was up until 3:30, being sick this morning, so I'm way out of sorts. But not as out of sorts as she is because she was the one that was sick, not me. So it's tough, man. It really is. But it's also an opportunity to give. It's an opportunity to nurture. It's an opportunity to mentor, to share, to give your best practices and to create this little representation of you that, if all goes well, ends up being part of the legacy. So that relationship to your kids is one of the best things there are. I made my daughter a note when she was probably 15 years old. I wrote it on a 3x5 note card, and it said, if you're ever in a situation where you need to talk to me, and without me judging, without me being a dad, you just hand me this note, and I won't get mad, I won't get upset. I make that guarantee and that promise to you. On the flip side of the card, it said, you can use this as many times as you need to. And she brought that card to me the other day, man. And I got to be honest with you, it tripped me the hell out. I had no idea what that conversation was going to be. And to put it in perspective, that that conversation was so important to her and worrisome for her, that I had to think about it for 30 extra seconds before I could tell you what it was. But and I'm not going to tell you what it was because it ain't your damn business. Um, but it was not anything that I would be overly bothered with. But it was interesting to see that. So from me as a parent to you as parents, um, giving kids that permission to be open, to be honest, to be frank, is going to save you a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of angst in the future. Highly, highly recommend it. All right, so spouse or significant other, kids, self. What about your friends, man? Isn't there a song about that? What about your friends? Are you going to sit around, drink some beers, and hang out and chill? Look at these people are not social distancing at all. Good Lord, I don't even see any masks. What is this world coming to? Anyway, friends are important. And I love friends because the better they are, the less you have to spend time and energy with them, right? We've all got great friends that we can go a year or three and not talk to at all and pick up exactly where we left off. It's magical. I'm not saying you should avoid your friends. I'm not. I don't believe that at all. But I am saying that if you have the right friends, you totally can. All right. They're intuitive. They know when you're going through stuff. Maybe they pick up the phone and make a call, whatever the case may be. But having a tight group of people that care about you, regardless of whatever crap you do or who you are, um, and more importantly, are willing to call you out on your crap, is absolutely amazing and awesome. So, highly recommend having some good friends. And it's interesting, the older we get, I feel like the less those friends, lesser the amount is. And it's also interesting because as I sit here and I look at Weemy and I look at Stonehouse, COVID-19 hitting, we spent a lot of time on Zoom. We spent a lot of time, a little bit of time in House Party, and it was fascinating. I ended up telling my mom because of a handful of people in this Club MCC group. I'm like, I've developed a whole new real group of real friends at 50 years old. I did not expect to do that. I figured that the friends I had would be friends for life, right? My college buddies, I thought they were just going to be there forever. But now all of a sudden, I got this new group of pals, and it's pretty cool. Not to suggest that Dave or Keith and I weren't friends before, but the relationships tighten, man, and they can ebb and flow like that, and it's awesome. I just happen to be sitting in the office of PKIG right now. I have a bunch of meetings here today, but your relationships at work, what are those like? How are you dealing with those people? You didn't get to choose them, right? They didn't necessarily, one of them chose you, the boss, but these are people that you're going to have to deal with, whether We talked about it. There's a guy in this picture that's in this office 65 hours per week, right? There is 168 hours in a week. So he spends roughly 40% of his waking time here with these folks, right? So how does that work for what you're trying to do in your life? So you better figure out how to build those relationships in an open way, in a candid way, in a trusting way, in a way where you feel comfortable communicating with them and they feel comfortable communicating with you. And in an ideal world, especially with work people, it's super important to align those visions, right? It's important to align that mission that we talked about briefly earlier, because ultimately, you want to be working with people that are on the same page, moving toward the same goal, trying to accomplish the same things that you are. One of those cool memes that I see on Facebook from time to time is the herd of lions. Is it a herd? I think it's a herd. Anyway, pack. No, it's not. Pride. It's a pride of lions. Thank you very much. Pride of lions. Um, Surround yourself with those that are on the same mission as you. And it's absolutely true, man. The better we can win together, the more fun and the better the time we're going to have. So, love it. Find good work people, spend quality time with them. Oh no. This image was mind-blowingly amazing yesterday and now it's not. That's cool. So, we're talking about relationships. One of the things we got to figure out is how to have a relationship with nature, right? How are we spending time out on God's green earth? And how are we enjoying that time? How is it feeding our soul? How is it feeding our spirit? And it doesn't matter if you're somebody that wants to go mountain climbing or would rather go skiing down a mountain, or maybe you want to go swim in a lake, or maybe you like sailing or water skiing on that same lake. Maybe you want to go hike in the woods, or maybe you just want to sit around a campfire in the woods. Whatever the case may be, find time, find energy to go out and spend quality time outside, because life's too short and there's too much good stuff going on. Still so much good stuff. Got to be out there. Got to be out there. Make time. You know, I think I got a picture of one of the things that I like doing, and it reminds me of being out in nature. So, relationships, right? What's your relationship to God? And I don't care what you call God. I don't care if it's, Ganesh from the Hindi religion, or if you're looking more into Buddhism, or if you're Christian, or if you're Jewish, or if you're agnostic and consider yourself spiritual, right? I do think that atheism is an interesting construct, right? The belief that there is no God. Um, I'm sure that in some way, some shape, some form, there is something that's a higher self in that, but I'm not an atheist, so I don't really know. Um, I'm also not a practicing Christian, so while I was raised that, I'm not that. I would tell you that I am hyper spiritual. I believe that there is something significantly greater than myself, and I believe that we are all a part of that construct in terms of a collective consciousness. Right? We can explain that another time, but I do think it's important to have a relationship. Have seen a post a number of times that said, "Religion is a man sitting in church thinking about surfing. Relationship is a man surfing thinking about God." And I like that, because the idea of you having to sit in a building to worship or to be connected is silly to me, right? It just doesn't make any sense. If you find God, or if you find peace, or if you find happiness, or if you find love inside of you, you will find it everywhere you go, right? That's the key. Find these things in you, and then they never leave because they're inside of you. We spend too much time looking externally for things that are internal to us. So, just a thought. Ultimately, right? All of this is about whatever makes you happy, right? So what do you do to do that? What do you do to find that? It could be as simple as a barbecue on the 4th of July with friends and neighbors. It could be as crazy as I'm gonna go climb Mount Everest, right? And anything in between. Whatever you need to do, whatever you're doing, you should be spending your time, your energy, your focus on things that bring you joy. I'm not saying that you don't have to work, right? And I'm not saying that your work is always going to bring you joy. But what I am saying is that your work should be done in concert so you can have more joy, right? We have to use those building blocks. The relationships you have with friends, with family, with your kids, with your significant other, with yourself, with your coworkers, all of those things should be designed to bring you more joy. And if they're not, the question becomes, why not? What are you missing? What's lacking? What are you not doing that you could be doing? And you got to start asking yourself some really tough questions. I know a lot of folks that walk around life mostly miserable. Why? Because they don't believe they have the opportunity to do anything but. It's a mindset issue. Your mind, your brain is playing tricks on you. You can stop that. You can change it. You just have to make the conscious effort to do so. So, I don't know, man. For me, I chase happy all day, every day. That's the most important thing I've got going, right? How do I stay in a place of joy, right? Doesn't have to be super bliss, but I certainly don't want to be short of happy. That's ridiculous. So, what makes you happy? Give it some thought. All right, here's the big pitch. Oh, look at Terry already calling it out. Oh no, I have a question mark. I was like, hey, mental and physical. So you guys didn't think I thought this through. I'm like one of those illusionists, right? The guys that fool Penn and Teller. By the way, if you haven't watched Fool Us with Penn and Teller, that's actually a show that's worth watching. Mildly entertaining. Um, but I'm thinking next week's going to be mental and physical. So I think I want to dive into those two things, and it's going to be important talk and a great conversation. And it'll take place on Zoom at 11 o'clock next Wednesday. I want to go back to this happy point though, because I think this is one of those quotations that we should live our lives by, right? And it hits on a couple of things for me. One, it talks about passion, which if you're doing things that you don't love doing, this is a conversation I had. I met this insurance client this morning, right, with the sales team. I'm like, listen, if you guys aren't fired up about this, I promise you, it's the wrong place for you to be, right? You're here too much, too often, too much time, too much energy. If you're not loving the time, get out. Most of these guys are young, right? Go do something that's going to fuel your life. I'm not saying you got to kick the sheets off the bed every single morning, but good Lord, you'd better be doing it a few days a week, right? Because life is short. No need to put up with crap that you don't enjoy. So I want passion to be a part of life. The other thing that really sticks out with me is this light yourself on fire. And I've used this quotation a few times, specifically around the whole 313D love movement a few years back. The idea that you've got to stand there and burn, man. You've got to. You've got to make sure that people know who you are and what you're doing, and that you stand for a cause or that there's a purpose to you, and you've got to share it in a way that not only aligns with who you are, but also draws people to who you are. And it's absolutely powerful stuff. So I want you to think about that. What are you passionate about? What are you on fire for? And then how do you actually, not necessarily literally, this is a figurative thing, how do you figuratively light yourself on fire? Because when you do, like any car wreck you've ever driven by, man, people will come and watch. They just do. And it's amazing. And you know what? Let's be honest. Some of those people are assholes and they're watching to see if you totally catch on fire and burn into the ground. But a lot of those people are rooting for you, whether silently or loudly. They want to see your success. And I encourage you to find people that are as interested in your success as you are and surround yourself with them. All right, we're at the closing slide right here, right now. So this is me. If you don't know how to reach me by now, I'm sorry. Please reach out to me. I'd love to encourage you to go to trybean.com and check out any of the 100 plus blogs that are there. Some of them are video. You could go to Trybean Way. Well, you could go to YouTube and then go to Trybean Way and check me out there. Recently came up with the acronym for BEAN. It is being exceptional at networking. So try being exceptional at networking. I think that's going to stick. I kind of like it. I kind of like it still after saying it a week later. Um, but yeah, connect with me wherever you are. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear how I can support you, how I can help you. Next Wednesday, 11 a.m. We're doing this again. I'd love to have you come back. I'm gonna probably do a better job promoting it this time because I need to do that every now and again. But it'll be cool. It'll be a good talk, and I'll be more peppy because I hopefully will not be up until 4 o'clock in the morning next time. So I'm gonna stop the recording. I am going to come back over and see you people. I'm going to stop the sharing. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop